I'm Andrew from Voluntary Sector Northwest, Andrew Rainsford, Policy and Research Officer, and thank you very much for coming. Not only those who are attending, but also Darren, Annie, John and Fahana, who are going to be speaking today. It's a tight time scale, and I do have a selfish reason for wanting to stick to time, because my eldest son and his wife and their daughter are on the way to say hello. And Ella, our granddaughter, was born in November of last year, and I'm going to meet her for the first time at about 5:10. So you can all carry on, but I'm going. What would be helpful is if you could mute yourselves whilst people are speaking. We'll be using the chat box, if you could introduce yourselves there, and also introduce yourself, introduce any questions that you want asking. What we're going to do is to try and answer a few of the questions when our four speakers have spoken. And then we'll we've agreed that we will circulate. Oh, the photographer now moves. And I got a smile from her as well. And questions that we don't answer will circulate afterwards with some thoughts and some comments. The event is going to be recorded and will be circulated to people afterwards. If you don't want to be recorded, you perhaps need to keep your camera off and change your name to not here or something like that. Anna's given me a list of things to say. Anna works with me also for Voluntary Sector Northwest. She knows which buttons to press to make things happen. And it couldn't have happened without her and my colleague Alana, who is, well, on my screen is just below me, but quite where she is on yours, I don't know, but she's sort of wearing big earrings and glasses. I accused her of looking like Sue Pollard earlier on today. You know, the slightly dippy lady from Heidi High. And I think it's probably time for me to stop digging myself a hole and pass over to the first speaker, who is Darren Burns. Darren, you'll need to unmute yourself.
So I am.
I'll mute me.
That's the first time I've ever done that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It normally winds you up when people do that, but anyway, here we are. So yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Andrew. My name's Darren Burns. I look after the Timpson Foundation for the Timpson business. So I've got 15 minutes to kind of tell you what we do and how we do it, and I think perhaps most importantly, probably the reasons why. So a useful place to start is often the beginning, so that's where we'll begin. So back in 2002, James Timpson, my boss, our CEO, was invited to visit a local prison, namely HMP Thorncross, which is a Category D establishment in Warrington in the Northwest. It was James's first time into a prison, and he didn't really know what to expect. James was shown around by a young chap named Matt. Matt was very intelligent, very articulate, and James really liked him and thought he'd be a great addition to the Timpson business. So James, probably a huge breach of security, but slipped him a business card and said, Matt, when you get released from prison, give me a call and we'll see if we can get you some work. James was good to his word, as was Matt, and we're very pleased to say that Matt joined the Timpson business and is still with us to this day, and is one of our more successful branch managers. So from that moment on, James realised if there's one really good candidate like Matt in one small prison in the Northwest, then surely there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people like Matt who just need that opportunity, who just need that second chance. So from that moment forth, we began to proactively recruit ex-offenders into the Timpson business. I'm very proud to say that we are now one of, if not the largest employer of ex-offenders in the UK. Currently, about 10% of our workforce is made up of people who we've either recruited directly from prison or who've disclosed that they've got a conviction. And that could be an historic conviction from 5, 10, 20 years ago. In reality, though, we've actually got even more than 650 ex-offenders. We stop counting people as ex-offenders after 2 years. It's important to note that we don't treat them any differently anyway from day one. It's just for our own kind of auditing purposes. We refer to them as foundation colleagues. And I know there's some debate recently about language, whether ex-offenders is the right term or people with prison experience. But I think for the purposes of this, we'll kind of refer to them as foundation colleagues. So when people join the Timpson business, they kind of join the business in all sorts of different capacities, be it in a branch or be it in our HQ in Wythenshawe in Manchester or one of our excellent centres. But after 2 years service, they kind of fall off that list naturally. So what that means is, in reality, we've probably got in excess of 1,200 people who we've either recruited through prison or who've got a conviction. So again, something we're very, very proud of. So how do we do it is a question we often get asked. We've got 4 main streams of recruitment with the Timpson Foundation. The first one is a scheme which I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's called ROTL. ROTL stands for Release on Temporary Licence. And this is typically where either me or one of my colleagues will go into a prison and we'll strike up a relationship with a prison governor or a prison resettlement manager. And that might be because we've got a recruitment need in Liverpool, Birmingham, Manchester, wherever it might be in the UK. And I'll typically contact the prison governor and say, I'd love to come and interview maybe 10 men, 10 women for positions in our local branches. In the bad old days, what used to happen is the prison governors or the resettlement managers used to slap up a poster on B Wing, and we used to get hundreds of applicants who would turn up to be interviewed for positions with Timpson. Very sad to say that it didn't often work out because lots of these people weren't employment ready for many reasons, and it was a complete waste of their time, and it's not good for anybody's kind of self-esteem or confidence to not pass an interview. So we do things a bit differently now. So what we do is we make sure that the prisons that we deal with know the sort of colleagues that we employ. And for us as a business, and bear in mind, I'm only kind of qualified to talk about the people that Timpson employ. We like people who, first and foremost, are presentable, people who are great communicators, people who are going to be able to engage with our customers and ultimately provide them with first-class customer service. So once we've kind of set the ground rules with the prison staff, we'll go in and we'll do the interviews. The interviews are very informal, kind of 10, 15-minute affairs. We do a comprehensive risk assessment at the point of interview. When we've discussed what these people are in custody for, we put that to bed altogether, we move on, and the interview carries on as normal. And again, all we're looking for is somebody to have that kind of spark of character, of that personality. And once we've identified people who we think are going to be a good fit for our business, we give them a position on ROTL. And that means they will leave prison every day, do a full day's work, paid at national living wage in one of our high street stores before returning to prison of an evening and getting locked behind a door. And that can continue in the last 2 years of somebody's sentence. The good thing for us is that we get an opportunity to build a rapport with these people, so we know what they're about. We know if they're going to be a big success when they come out and when they get released. And 9 times out of 10, they are. When they get released, we give them a full-time job, and it works very well for our business. And it's a credible and a really useful stream of recruitment for us. Our second recruitment stream through the foundation is that we have a number of prison training academies up and down the UK. I think the best way to explain these is if you think one of our high street stores, or we'll use a Timpson store as an example, what we've actually done is we've picked up the whole kit and caboodle and dropped it actually inside the prison grounds. So rather than the men or the women work on the wing or work on the servery, sweeping up, making tea and coffee for the officers, doing things which aren't really vocational and which aren't going to lead to any realistic possibilities of employment upon release, what we do instead is we expect them to turn up in our prison academy and we teach them all of our skills and services. But I think it's important to note that these academies are kind of all singing, all dancing. So what we've done is we've replicated that branch environment. So we've merchandised it. We've got our Timpson carpets, we've got our Timpson graphics, we've got a working till with Monopoly money, we've got all of our kind of merchandise that we sell, and we do everything we can to replicate that branch environment. And that works incredibly well. And not only are we assessing people for kind of skills and services in terms of shoe repairs and watch repairs, but we're also continually assessing them for attitudes and behaviours. And the whole point of these academies is that when people get to a point where they're either eligible for ROTL, we'll give them a place on temporary licence, or if not, when they get released, we'll meet them at the gate, we'll buy them a travel pass, we'll give them a uniform, and we'll put them to work. And the kind of feedback from the people that we give these opportunities to spend time in our academies is one of the best things about it, is that they've got that continuity, because physically the place looks the same, and all of our Timpson branches, our Max Phelan branches, our Johnson's the cleaning branches, because they all look the same, they love that familiarity and that kind of consistency, and that works really well. And again, the vast majority of people who end up starting their Timpson careers whilst in prison in an academy go on to work with us full time and stay with us after 2 years. Our third stream of recruitment is whereby me or one of my colleagues will go in to interview people who are still in custody but for some reason can't access ROTL, and that might be because they're in a category B establishment that doesn't offer ROTL. It might be that the sentence is too short and they just haven't got time to sort the paperwork out. So again, we'll go in, we'll risk assess them, we'll interview them, and suitable candidates will be offered a position. We'll meet them at the gate when they get released, we'll give them a travel pass, we'll give them a uniform, and we'll give them a job. And our fourth and final stream of recruitment is essentially the referral process. Because Timpson are kind of synonymous with being ex-offender friendly, people feel confident and emboldened enough to sort of apply through the normal channels, either on a website or through a paper application form. And on the back of our application form, we've got a box which says, have you got any unspent criminal convictions? Now, what's different in our application form is that underneath that box, it says, if you've ticked yes to this will not be a bar to employment with Timpson. However, it will be discussed at the point of interview, and people feel confident enough to come in. In addition to that, we get lots of referrals from other agencies that we work with. I know Sam from Clean Sheets here. Hi, Sam. So Sam sends lots of people our way, and we also work closely with police, probation, and other third sector organisations. So that's kind of how we get ex-offenders or people with convictions into our business. So I think probably the most important question is, why do we do it? And that's kind of split into two main groups of reasons. And I think the first one is because we genuinely and honestly believe that people deserve a second chance, and also it's good for society. When you think that there's 11 million people in the UK with a conviction more serious than a driving offence, that's almost 1/6 of the UK population. So to throw that huge proportion of the population on the employment scrap heap and assume that they're worthless, they're inherently dishonest, they're dangerous, they've got nothing to offer, we just think is complete madness. And while many other employers sort of turn their nose up at these people, we will give them that opportunities, and it's gone on to do wonders for our business. Another thing to bear in mind is that 61% of prison leavers will reoffend within 2 years of leaving custody. That has been proven to be reduced to as little as 19% if these people have full-time employment. So employment is a key factor to reducing reoffending. It's not the only factor, because obviously people need somewhere to live first and foremost, and they need a network of friends and family to take care of them and to love them. But after those two things are in place, employment then is kind of the third most important. And when people have got all them, reoffending can be reduced by as much as 50%. Another reason we do it is that it's good for everybody, it's good for society. Reoffending is reported to cost the UK taxpayer £18 billion a year. So anything we can do as a business to divert people away from crime, keep them out of prison, and put them into gainful employment, everybody wins. The taxpayer wins for obvious reasons. The individuals themselves win because they're not in custody. Their families benefit because they're not losing a loved one to a long prison sentence. But we all benefit as a wider society because fewer people are committing crimes, our communities are safer, and there are fewer victims, which is obviously really important. The second group of reasons why we do this, and we do this very successfully, is because it's good for business. It's worth bearing in mind that Timpson are first and foremost a commercial business. We're not a charity. And the reason we do this is because the people that we recruit from prison or with an offending background are able to offer great things to our organisation. And this can often just be simple things like personal resilience, usually because people have been through a prison sentence and they've been wrenched away from their families and their loved ones, and they've had to learn how to survive in prison, often have their whole lives turned upside down. What we found kind of anecdotally is that it gives them that resilience that often other people don't have. People that we recruit from prison are often more loyal, very hardworking, and statistically even more honest than people that we recruit from other streams. Now, people often kind of raise an eyebrow at that one, but I get a report every year from our head of security, and on that report is a list of colleagues that unfortunately we've had to dismiss for gross misconduct. And gross misconduct usually in Timpson is because people pinch money out the till. And the kind of list of names of people that have been recruited through more normal streams, shall we say, such as the job centre or recommendations from existing colleagues, far outweighs the number of foundation colleagues or ex-offenders on that list. And what we believe is that because we've shown them that trust and we've given them that opportunity, people are very, very keen not to betray that trust and want to do the best for us. Another strange quirk of working with ex-offenders is that often they're able to turn the kind of criminal tendencies into entrepreneurship. And again, quite a lazy example of that is we might employ a drug dealer who obviously used to doing deals with drugs, bags of coke, etc., wherever it might be. And all of a sudden they've gone straight, they're working in one of our branches, and instead of doing deals for bags of drugs, now they're doing deals for an extra set of keys or an extra shoe repair or a key ring to go with your keys. And it seems to be quite a good fit. And the whole thing now is kind of embedded within our culture. And it's just completely normal for everybody within the Timpson business to work with ex-offenders and recruit them. And I know James Timpson, our CEO, it's something James is very passionate about, and hopefully it's something we're going to be doing a lot more of. So I've got, according to my stopwatch, 2 minutes left, so I'm going to quieten down now, give Annie a chance to talk, and hopefully if anybody's got any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. I've just put in the chat box. Now I know why I got a battery for life from Timpson's when I had a battery changed in my watch not that long ago. If I'd known it was your training, I would have made a note of the colleague's name, sent it to you, and then you could have given them a pat on the back. But yeah, I went in to buy a watch battery and came out with one that every time it fails, I can just go back and get another one. And it cost me far more than I think the batteries ever will. But hey ho, it's given me peace of mind. Now then, the big question is, will I get a lifetime supply of frozen food from Cook if I go in there? Probably not, but it's worth asking, isn't it, Annie? Let's hear from Annie Gale. Thanks very much.
I don't know if John or I have that correct background for that, but you never know. I'm gonna do what I don't normally do, and I'm gonna share some slides with you. First of all, I'll just say hello. I'm Annie, and with John, who you're about to hear from, we oversee what we call our Raw Talent Programme at Cook. So we're going to tell you a little bit about Cook, a little bit about our Raw Talent Programme. We're going to try and answer Andrew's brief, which was talk about some of the problems employing people with a conviction can bring and some solutions to that. Second one was about mitigating risk, practical solutions for that. And the third one, which John's going to deal with way better than I could, is about encouraging others to have a crack at it. You'll believe me afterwards that he's the interesting one. But anyway, here we go. Okay, so quick bit about Cook. At Cook, we make remarkable food for your freezer that looks and tastes like you made it at home. Couldn't resist a little picture of John in his beard snood to cheer you up. There he is, dealing with the potatoes. So the business started about 23 years ago by a couple of guys called Ed and Dale from a tiny, scruffy kitchen in North Kent. We now operate from 2 big, clean kitchens in North Kent still, plus another one down in Dorset, but we still do the same thing. We make frozen posh ready meals, basically, as Andrew was talking about, and we sell the food via 90 shops now, 91, we opened a new one this week, across the UK, and a fast growing e-commerce business and concessions business. We now employ over 1,500 people. We turn over about 80 million. We've been incredibly lucky to be able to grow year on year for quite some time now, although we've had bumps along the way in the 23 years we've been around. But we are still owned and run by the family. Ed still runs the business with his sister Rosie. Dale has retired, but we're really proud of being a family owned and run business, and it's like Timpson. It makes life so easy because you can do what you like. I've only been around 3.5 years, but I'm a big fan. I love it. So we sort of look on the surface like a manufacturing business because we make food, like a retail business because we sell it. But in our heart of hearts, I think we feel more like a people business, a service business, because the thing that sets us apart at Cook is not so much our recipes or our shops, although they're amazing, but what we call our essential ingredients. And those are our company values. We talk about them another time because I don't want to stand between Andrew and cuddling that baby. But we've always known that doing good business is about more than turning a profit for the shareholders. It's about doing the right thing by society. You know, we're committed to using our business as a force for good in society. And Raw Talent, the programme that we run at Cook, is just one of a bunch of things we do to that end. That's why we do it, because we want to leave the place a bit better, the place we work in and the people we work with a little better than we found them. So Raw Talent is our programme similar to Timpson's Foundation, and you will recognise some similarities because I have to come clean and say, we've learned pretty much what we know from Timpson and others, and we are in awe, and we are definitely some steps behind them following our leaders. So thanks, Darren. RAW stands for Ready and Working, and this is our programme to support people who might need a bit of support when they first start work. So that's people with convictions, whether or not they've served a prison sentence, but it's also available to people who've been out of work because of homelessness or addiction or mental health challenges or seeking refuge, care leaver, whatever it might be. Oh, some numbers. It's really not a numbers game for us. It's all about the people. It has to be. But this is out of interest. Since we started counting, same deal as Darren at Timpson, but we've had 100. We celebrated our 100th Raw Talent joining the business a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago now. So we've had 103 people join via that route, 34 of whom are still with us in the business. So we're hovering more like the sort of 2 and a bit % rather than the 10% at Timpson. And you can see from the numbers, most people join in our kitchen in North Kent, but it's possible to join through Raw Talent elsewhere if you've got the experience and you want to. Really quickly, our programme has 3 stages, what we call our get ready stage or our ready stage, which is training before the job offer. So that's a right laugh, 2 weeks of intense training in Sittingbourne. For small groups, people have a chance to, we offer some training, right, which nobody remembers any of. What they do remember and absolutely love is having the opportunity to get in the kitchen, roll up their sleeves, do a day's work, or even a couple of hours, a supported trial shift, basically, and come out and have people say, well done, you're part of a thing, you did an amazing job. And they come alive and then forget all our training, which is lovely. And we then interview everybody who completes the programme, and we hold open a minimum of 4 jobs per programme. We run it 3 times a year. It's quite a new thing. The last couple of times we've run it, we've actually offered 8 jobs rather than the 4 because we've had great people, which has been lovely. After the job offer, for everyone who's successful, there's extra support in place once people start their job, basically, in the form of buddying, which John will talk about. And we just pull back on that until people are bored of us and flying solo. So to talk about the hurdles that might be in place and the risk and how to kind of manage it, again, we are learning all the time. Like to emphasize, we are not the experts, but if there's any wisdom here that you want to know more about, please ask us. We love talking about it and learning together. This is the first thing. It's so simple, but it's not easy. It's just about starting from today. Like Darren said, we do talk about the past, that first time we meet people, because it's an important part of people's story. But from then on, we look forward because we know that there's incredible potential in people in the right environment with the right support around them to be really amazing. So, and we know it in our head, but we know it because we've seen it so many times now, that the past is a thing, but it doesn't define the next bit. So that's super important, just as an approach, I think. As John would say, there's gold in everyone. And also, as Darren said, it's good business. It's really good for your, doing good business attracts good people, good team members, good customers, good suppliers, good shareholders. It's good. We work with partners, again, some of you lovely people, although geography is a bit challenging for a lot of you with us. But we recognise that having a job is a piece of a puzzle when someone comes out of prison or someone with a conviction. It's a really important part. It really helps. Darren shared the numbers, but it is just a part of it. So we can support people quite well when they're at work. It's so important that we have experts around those people to deal with the stuff. All they have to do is turn up on time, work well, and go home on time. And it's very simple, but it's not easy for everybody. So for a lot of people, that just doing that needs some support, and then we can help them when they're at work. So if that's support with addiction, housing, whatever, we work with lovely partners like you guys, including Clean Sheet as well. Also, we work wherever possible with other companies doing, or other employers, I would say, doing the same thing. So if you're considering doing this, I would recommend find good partners to go with, learn stuff, steal stuff, borrow stuff, and make sure, you're kind of hooked in. We like this expression, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We have a referral process that ensures partner support of every single person. So it has to happen because each person referred to us has to be referred by a partner organisation who knows them, and we'll support once they've started as well. yeah, important. And you might have to kiss a few frogs to find your dream partner. And we've found, just saying. Yes, same as Timpson. It's really important to us that everybody's treated exactly the same pay, same expectations, same disciplinary process, same everything. But some people need a bit of extra support to achieve it, and that's what we try to offer through the buddies and through putting people in touch with others who can help them. There's another picture of John and his mate Renee. And this is important as well. We found this super important. In fact, we're finding it now. We just had to terminate someone's employment yesterday, and it's been really difficult, but it's part of the job. And we learn so much all the time through the bumps. And we like to say this too: a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. It makes us better people. It really does. We're so much the better for people, you know, for being part of a team which is from all different walks of life. And we learn a lot from one another, and we learn a lot from when it doesn't work as well. Yeah, that's me. I think I've left some time for John. I hope I've left some time for John. The interesting one. So John's going to do the third part of the brief, which was, can you encourage some other people to do this stuff? Absolutely. John's your man, because he'll share his experience of how it works.
Hello, everyone. So I just want to say a big thank you for everyone for being on this platform. So I'm somebody who had a barrier to employment. 6.5 years ago, I come through on the Raw Talent Programme. And I just want to quickly speak 3 categories. I want to speak about what it was like before work, before I come through Cook on the Raw Talent Programme, what it was like coming through for me, and what it's like now, my responsibilities now. So I'm just going to give an edited highlight of my past, you know, what it was like for me. So I was somebody, I made some bad choices. I got derailed at a young age, rebelled against authority. I got addicted to a Class A drug. I like to be explicit because I was in a bad place, and that is heroin, crack cocaine. I've been in prison over a decade, all over the countries. And, you know, and I was desensitized from society. I was lonely. I was in a bad place. I was on an island on my own, and my behavior, you know, wasn't acceptable. But I just got caught up in this. You know, I burnt all my bridges with my family. You know, my mind was fragmented through the drug intake. I was consumed by drugs and crime, and I found myself in prison. Just thinking stuff through and thinking, am I ever going to get out of this? You know, suicidal thoughts, wanting to take my life. You know, I was in a dark place. There was a lot of pain going on, and I was that bad. I had 2 murder attempts on my life. People wanted me off the streets, and I got run out of my community. I got run out by the authorities. I was an exile, you know, and yeah, and it was quite a bad place. So at that time when I got run out of my community, I ended up moving to a different area, and there was a homeless centre called Caring Hands. They feed 250 meals a day, and that is Cook's charity. So that's Cook's partner. We send food up to them on a regular basis for them just to feed everyone and do what they're doing. And Cook said, anybody comes through Caring Hands successfully, I was there for 2 years volunteering, that we'll give a job. So I was the first person to come through from Caring Hands, and I was the second person to come on the Raw Talent Programme at Cook, and which was amazing. Bear in mind, I was stagnant. I was showing no activity. I was dull. I was sluggish, you know, because I've never been in a workplace. I've always, you know, done the dodgy, like I explained, committed crime to, you know, to live. And so it was hard. So me coming into Cook, you know, I thought, oh, is this real? You know, are they going to look at my shadow, or are they going to give me a real chance? But, you know, it really shocked me because they embraced me. They allowed me to come and work and be a part of a team, start to learn how to love people and to receive love. I've developed in my talents, my skills. You know, my leadership is so broad now. It allowed me to save money, to be able to get married. I've been married 6 years now. I've got a 2.5-year-old little boy called Micah. My wife's Rowena. Her name's Rowena. We've got our own house. You know, things is good at the minute because I love to. I need to key into it because it was the environment. I love speaking about the environment. Yes, Cook, their values resonated within me, and it's a diverse culture, and people, you know, really do love you. They give you that second chance, but it was key. I was missing the right environment. Yes, you have to have a good environment outside of work, your family, your people, like your friends. But what I realised, and what I've realised now, is 8 years coming away from that lifestyle. 6.5 years working at Cook, I realised I was missing the environment. Now, 8 hours a day or more if you do more, but that 8 hours a day in the right environment, that is the framework what created a picture of beauty in my own personal development and really helped me see myself differently, see the work, see the gold in me. And yeah, so I was a chef for 4 years in Cook, and then I got to a prep chef for 1.5 years, and now I work full time with Annie on the Raw Talent Programme team. I get to go all over London. I know, it's shocking. I get to go to London, networking with different organisations. I get to go to prisons, do job fairs, you know, recruitment, and it's really incredible, mind blowing for me to get that second chance and allow me to be in pursuit of the completed me. And so one of my responsibilities today is so me and Rowena, we recruit, we do training, and then if they get selected for a job offer, they come through, and one of my responsibilities is to mentor them. So I'll sit down and, you know, for 30 minutes off their shift, once a week for up to 16 weeks. If they want more, they can have more. So all we do is I point in the right direction, set goals, little actions. We review it on a week-to-week basis. What went well, even better if, and I try to take on the coaching model, you know, where I ask good questions and they come up with that greatness within them, because we're massive believers that there's gold in everyone, and the whole of Cook, the culture of Cook, it's all of our responsibility collectively to help each other step into their potential. So in my finishing, I just love to say this environment. Remember I said I was keying into the right environment, and I'm seeing it as I mentor these people when they first come through, and you know, and having the right environment for them to succeed in life. And I'm going to finish with this. I love to use an illustration, gold mining. So gold miners, they go down into the depth of the earth, they blow up the rock, they they use a drill and they extract the mineral from it, and they put the mineral in a furnace, they apply heat to it, so all the impurities come to the top, they move that and they form beauty, they form gold, they form, you know, it brings worth, it brings value to it. But it was only a bit of rock, it was the environment that it was in what brought that worth, that value to it. And so the right business for an individual is that amazing environment which can bring them to a place of of beauty. So I'm not going to speak too much more than that. I'm going to pass it back over to Andrew, I think.
Thank you, John. I've had the pleasure of engaging with Fahana on 1 or 2 occasions over Zoom, and you've set her one heck of a challenge. How on earth is she going to follow you?
I was just thinking that. I think I went in the wrong position. You can't follow John's speech there, to be honest. It might sound a bit boring now, so I should have gone third.
You are third, really, because Annie and John are a double act.
Yeah, but John, what he said and his experiences are amazing. So for those of you who don't know me, I work for Lancashire BME at the moment. I don't think any of you know me, so I don't know why I've said that. But yeah, so my name's Fahana and I'm working as a project officer, but I did work at Preston Prison. And now one of the things Darren said really resonates with me, the fact that you have to give people a chance. And I strongly believe, I was worked as an employment advisor, and whilst working at Preston Prison, you go in. I'd never worked in a prison environment before. I'd worked with ex-offenders, etc., but never worked in a prison environment. And you go in and we all have our unconscious bias, etc. But you go in and it's just a world within a world, and you meet some amazingly brilliant people who I think would be fantastic in the world of work. And like you said, something about a drug deal, I think, Darren, I met someone who'd been in and out of prison, and we were doing a mock interview, and I said to him, what do you think is your strength? And he started laughing. He said, I can't tell you. I said, of course you can, come on. Anyway, I was the best drug seller in my area. And I said, right, so how would we sell that to an employer? You've clearly got salesman skills here. But not only that, you fully apply yourself to whatever you do. So absolutely agree that there's people who need that support, and I've got a real passion in making that tiny difference. Now, having moved on to Lancashire BME Network, my passion for working with, I don't know what the correct term is, but I'm going to use the term ex-offenders because that's what probation have been using. So with the ex-offenders, what we found, even whilst I was in prison, even though the Muslim population of UK is about 8% of the whole population, we found in prisons they represent 15 to 20%, which is going up year on year. So for me, what could I do as a project officer and change that? So we've started a small pilot project working with young Muslim males to try and not just get them into employment, but change the environment when they come out, so other families accepting them. I think you've got to be culturally sensitive to the fact that there's a lot of faith plays a big important part in Muslims' lives. Whether you're religious or not, they have a big say. So it's trying to build all that round. And what we found, and Sabah works closely with me, what we found, the challenges we found is before even getting to the employment bit, like you said, John, you need that environment around you, you need the support. And I think you voiced that as well, Darren. The environment needs to be supported. So we're struggling with that side of things at the moment to try and get that sorted for them. But at the same time as doing the work with the offenders, what we're trying to do is a citizen's journey. So we get people from the local communities, faith leaders, whether it's a police officer, to see what they feel the challenges are and trying to empower the community to deal with those concerns, to try and accept that these people are going to come back into the community, they're going to have the skills, and everyone deserves a second chance. But yeah, so that's it really. I'm not as exciting as the others, but I guess that's just my work. Darren, there's no need to smile. You don't need to agree with that point. But yeah, like I said, I've got a real passion for making a change, and just hearing your story, John, has made me really smile. It's made my day.
You done absolutely amazing.
Bless you.
Right. Well, thanks ever so much, Farhana. It truly was stunning, as was Annie, as was Darren. We've got time for some questions, and I'm going to ask the first two. If well, I don't know, I'm in charge, so it is all right, really. The first one is to Annie and Darren combined. You mentioned the importance of employment, and Darren, you were saying you meet people at the prison gates, give them a travel pass, a uniform and a job. Where does housing support fit into this?
To be honest with you, we don't do anything specifically when it comes to housing. Our expectation would be that hopefully whilst in custody, and I know this isn't an option for everybody, but hopefully that they'll engage with housing services whilst they're still in custody. In reality though, how we help is, rather than sort of finding housing for these people ourselves, what we do is we give them financial assistance. So anybody who we meet who we've offered a job to, who's going to be homeless effectively, what we do 9 times out of 10 is that we give them a deposit and a first month's rent, and we pay that for them so they've got somewhere safe and secure to live. And obviously when they're settled down, when they're working for us, they repay us a kind of £20 a month, something like that. But more often than not, James Timpson, because he's so generous, just kind of scratches that debt, and people just crack on and forget about it. So the answer to your question in summary is that we don't do anything specifically, but when people do present to us with homelessness, then we help them out financially to find private accommodation.
Thank you. I noticed Fahana waving, so I'll bring her in before Annie, if that's all right with you, Annie.
Sorry, having worked in the prison, what I found was they work with shelter and other housing associations within the prison. So what they'll do is they'll try to get people accommodation now. Sometimes, unfortunately, people are going out of prison and they've not got the accommodation needs that they require, whether that's the local council or there's no housing available. You will find certain people are going to go without house, which is a real shame, but they do have the housing associations within the prisons to try and set that up before they go, and that should be done, really.
Thank you. Annie?
I can't add a lot apart from just to be really honest and say we don't do a load.
No, okay.
Yes, we would offer a loan up front and things like what Darren's talking about, but it's a challenge for us, especially this year, to get stuck back in with our local prisons and probation, but also to I want to find a decent partnership with a housing setup that we can work with. We've looked into having our own accommodation. We were nervous about the person putting all their eggs in one cook basket and then losing the job and then the house, and so we haven't pursued that. I haven't got a really good answer for that, honestly. We tend to say to people, you kind of need somewhere to live. That's part of getting work ready. But of course, if we can do something small to help, we will. But haven't cracked that one. Need a nice partner organisation in North Kent. Anyone?
Okay. Righty-ho.
I believe Jonathan's got a large accommodating house.
Right, well, moving quickly on, and I noticed Jonathan hasn't unmuted himself. The next question is for you, John. You mentioned in your talk that you've been in prison. How did it feel going back into a prison, knowing full well that they were going to let you out?
Oh wow!
Tell the story.
Yeah, I've got some stories around that. It's funny because I was a little bit nervous, put it that way. And when Annie first said, right, we're going into Elmley prison, I was like, Annie, I can't, they won't let me in. And she said, no, that'll be all right, that'll be all right. I said, they're not going to let me in. I've done years in Elmley prison. She went, no, watch, I'll get you in. So, no, so we goes there, we go through to do the job fair, and all the officers recognise me, so they flock to me and they're like, so I'm telling them, I'm like, listen, my life's changed. Yeah, I ain't that criminal no more. I made bare mistakes. I said, this is me now. I just want to help people. I work at Cook on the Raw Talent Programme. So they run to go and get the main governor of the prison. And I've told you this story before, Darren. I think I come up London and chatted, and you was in there. So they went and got the main governor of the prison. They brought him to me and they said, you got to hear John. So anyway, so I was having a chat with him and I looked him in the eye and I said, you don't recognise me, do you? He said, no. I said, you've given me loads of adjudications before. Obviously, adjudications, when you've been naughty, they take you down the seg, they'll isolate you and they don't give you nothing. It's like you get a nicking sheet. That's where the naughty people go. So he looked at me in the eyes, we had a laugh, shook each other's hands. And then obviously, everyone else who I've done prison with was recognising me. I had one come up to me and he started cuddling me. He was hanging off me saying, I need change. I need what you've got. And he was crying. He was hanging on me, crying his eyes out. And so, in answering of your question, Andrew, it's the fastest time I've ever been in and out in all my life.
Right, any more questions? If you can sort of wave or put your hand up or something.
I'm just going to ask something. I've not met a lot of the people on this call, but I just wanted to say thank you for your time. And I wanted to say I'd love to work in collaboration or think of ways how we could work in collaboration. So I'd love to stay in touch if that's possible. Come on, let's look a bit more enthusiastic.
Now, Anna's put something in the chat box. If you ticked on the registration that you're happy for your details to be shared with others, we can certainly share details around. If you haven't ticked that, ping a message into me, and I'm sure that Anna, Alana, and we call ourselves the A team, by the way, because we you just work out the Christian names. We can make something happen, so that, you know, connections can be made. We've heard from all four speakers that connections, support, partnership, working together is, well, it's crucial, absolutely crucial. You know, not a lot will happen if we work in isolation. So it is a question of working together. Annie.
I'm just going to add one other thing to the together thing, or the support thing, really. And that's that both Timpson and Cook, we're so lucky that we're owner managed, and also that we've got such massive support from the senior team. And I would say that's super important. Quite a lot of my job, I don't know about you, Darren, but I spend quite a lot of time kind of trying to build the love for the programme internally. Not at the stage where you are, where it just happens on its own. And even if it's going well, something can happen and people can lose trust in it a little bit. So it's just so important that the tippity top are like, yep, it's happening. That's what we do. That's how we roll. Come on, how are we going to do it? Not, this is hard work.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Annie. I mean, it's we're really spoiled in Timpson's, you know, it's such a part of our culture now. It's so normal to all of our colleagues, and that really is down to James, and because it comes from the top, everybody cracks on with it. So it's very, very easy within our organisation. But again, the same as you, when I help other businesses and organisations who are keen to get into this space but don't really know what they're doing, the first thing that we tell them is that it's got to come from the top. You've got to have the buy-in from the senior management team, because without that, it just won't work.
Thank you. Just as an aside, I do a little bit of work outside of VSNW with their knowledge and approval, I hasten to add. And I work with a domiciliary care agency in Barnsley, primarily on funding, because that's my main background. But I was talking with the chief exec there probably 3 weeks ago. And they've taken on somebody as a care worker who had an adverse DBS check, and they have worked and had the risk assessment and the programme agreed by the CQC, because they identified talent in an individual who had gone wrong a few years ago. And it is all about a second chance. It is about managing risk. But yeah, it was really gratifying to hear that, because on occasions you hear of organisations saying, oh, adverse DBS check, computer says no, goodbye. And it doesn't have to be that way, even in the most intimate settings, because those of us who have got elderly parents needing care know the intimacy and of the relationship there, and the tasks that are carried out, and the vulnerability of the people that are in receipt of care. So if a care agency can sort it out, there ain't much excuse for the rest of us, really.